So here we go, time particle theory. I got it this morning, as simple as I can go. So we've got all the components here of life. We've got carbon, nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen. We've got our atmosphere, we've got surrounding it. And what we've got here is the strong force, which is spin about the east-west axis. And bearing in mind, this is a particle, this is a photon. The world will reveal itself in how it attaches to the photon in a moment. So this is a tiny, tiny bubble of oxygen, and it contains hydrogen, nitrogen, carbon, and a bending moment at the center. And so the cycle of light is from the bending moment, creates the surface area, which is cubed because it's a pi over pi relationship. That s cubed equals n squared. It's a vector. This is a tension moment that you can imagine that turning in that direction. And here is H, hydrogen, a gas, 4. So we have M4, C3, N2, H1, oxygen. Now, oxygen is 0, and it exists 0 here, which exists in infinite potential time. So the outside of the boundary is potential time, seconds, infinite seconds. The limit is 0 seconds, which appears here, and that there is from that interaction between the cycle of light, you end up with a real second, a quantum. And that quantum appears here. The energy of this system arrives here in the bubble of oxygen. And you measure it with H, which is currently 6.626, but notice it should be H bar, which is 2 pi. That's the real value. This is the natural or measured value, H. It's too big. So once we've got the quantum of energy, then we're going back through. Here is 1. So it's got 0 exists, and now it's 1 bubble. And that bubble contains tension and bending. And here's the bending moment diagram. There. Expansion force is in the middle, pushing this way and this way, creates a tension in the surface, creates surface tension in the bubble, and that is represented by the 2 lines here. And that the ratio is pi to the golden ratio of that length, 1.6 times that length. So here we have pi and the golden ratio in the bending moment diagram of hydrogen. That bending moment resolves in the surface tension to a vector. There's the N, there it is turning. And that's the gas inside of N3, and that creates this C4, which is a bending moment of carbon. And that bending moment occurs in the middle, and then the cycle starts again. So we've got carbon, which is a thing, which creates bending, real thing in the middle, which is energy. That energy expresses itself as nitrogen, and that nitrogen should live here in this part of our atmosphere. Next we have the hydrogen, H2. This is the water zone, so the water cycle will go from here, nitrogen cycle from here, hydrogen cycle from here, water, and then finally we have the oxygen layer, which should be on the outside of the planet. If we were breathing nitrogen as we should be, the oxygen will be out here on the edge. But some people who are used to breathing oxygen down here won't be able to breathe. So you need to learn quickly to nasal breathe, teach yourself to get by on nitrogen, and then you'll see that we've evolved, because we are now the creatures of evolution here. In the nitrogen cycle, we no longer have to eat plants and animals to get the nitrogen. We can do it directly using our conchia. The conchia in the nasal chamber are consciousness. There are 3 flaps. There, and there. Little one, medium one, big one. Daddy bear, mummy bear, baby bear. Here, at the bottom of those concha, you've got orifices, and they feed a thing called the meatus, which is the structure that lives there. So you can picture these wings flapping as you breathe with that double breath motion, flapping all the wings. You're catching nitrogen on your concha, And DNA is made out of nitrogen. So amazing, isn't it? So what you're doing is you're inflating these things, flapping them. You're breathing nitrogen. You're catching DNA. That DNA directly feeds your brain its cognitive energy, the energy of intelligence. And so you're catching it on the conchia. And that makes your brain work really well. Clarity of thinking is fantastic. You feel alive and happy. What happens is that your brain, which gets very hot when you breathe oxygen, one half of it gets very hot. The heat in your brain is more evenly spread because you're using your imagination. Your left and right hemispheres are being used more equally when you're breathing, when you're using the cognitive energy. So the heat is more even. And the conchia then have a secondary function, which is to pump the heat from your brain down into your heart and into your whole body. And you change your temperature differential across from your heart to your outer edge. By changing your temperature differential inside with pure energy, it moves a little bit faster, tautening your own oxygen bubbles, as it were, down to the correct ratio of 2 pi. So by breathing correctly, you are breathing DNA, information, cognitive energy. Cognitive energy causes heat. The flapping, the bellows motion, then as well, the secondary bellows motion warms your body and gives you the energy to your organs and to yourself. So you'll feel incredibly healthy as well as cognitively on top of the game from breathing nitrogen. Because the truth, my friends, is that we are nitrogen breathing creatures. Nobody does it apart from the cetaceans in the water. We're going to do it in the air, and we will restore the nitrogen cycle as it's supposed to be, and that's what the world is supposed to look like. It's the secret of the ancients is this idea that you breathe through your nose. But the time is right now. Right now. Surely some revelation is at hand. Yes, it's this. Surely the second coming is at hand. Yes, it's this. It's a Messiah. A Messiah is a message, not a person. And the message is this: be love. Because when you breathe love, you think love, you heat love, you feel love, you express love. The cycle of light is the cycle of love. I really, really hope that that's enough for you to practice this. 3 days of nasal breathing, really rigid, really discipline. Go back to mouth breathing for 10 minutes and see if you think I'm right. People are currently suffocating. I can't breathe, screamed George Floyd, giving us a message. As the inhuman weight of the system destroyed the life of that man, he gave us an important message. Because you can't breathe either, unless you're doing it this way. This isn't breathing. This is death. This is parasitism. Okay? Is that enough? Love rules. Do the work. Choose. Live. Love.